he is a friend to Africa. He loves Africa. Doc, what year did you first come to Africa? And why did you come? And why do you keep coming?
Testing. All right. The first year was 1979. That was about 8 years into my presidency at Oakwood. My predecessor, Dr. Hale, had established, before he left, in 71, a budget whereby he was going to come and recruit in Africa. But he left the budget. I couldn't use it the first few years. I was too busy doing other things. But as soon as I got a chance, my wife and I traveled and visited 9 countries, including Kenya, in 1979.
Okay. So why do you keep coming back?
It's home.
Oh, good. All right. That was a good answer.
You always come home.
You can't top that answer. That was good. Now, you probably remember several weeks ago, as a family, we were praying for Dr. Rock because he lost his wife of 65, I was going to say 62, 65 years. She was a remarkable woman. And we prayed, Doc, for you.
Thank you.
All of us did. I'm sure you felt the love from right here, from Advent Hill.
Thank you.
But you might not have had an opportunity to meet his wife. And I thought I would just ask him to just tell us just a little something about her. She was quite a personality.
Quite a personality, yes, she was. Well, I can tell you this. We met when she was 10 and I was 11. And she started liking me then. Well, I'm not sure. But my family moved from New York to Los Angeles when I was 11. She was already there. Her father had moved from Washington, D.C. in 1939. This was back in 1941. So she had been in California a few years before we got there. And the first day I went to school, church school all the way, of course, is where I met her. Well, actually, the first time I saw her was in between Sabbath school and church. My mother took us to church, my sister and me. And when I got out of the car, our cousin's car, all of the boys and girls started laughing at me. And I didn't know why, but later on I realized it was because in New York we wore knickerbockers that came down to the knee, and the rest of it was socks, Argyle socks. And I thought I was looking cool. But they'd never seen an animal like that. So they all laughed, and I saw this group of young people laughing, including my wife, who happened to have been the pastor's daughter, youngest child. And I said in my heart, they're laughing at me, but that one sure is cute. Only 11. Well, I couldn't do anything about it at 11, but I did something about it later on. But she was, Clara was very vivacious, very frank, very candid. Nobody had to wonder what she thought. She wasn't devious, or it was all there. Whatever she felt, she let you know, and that included her husband. She was always in charge, and people call me henpeck sometimes, but I told them at least it's my hen.
Okay, Doc. Now he told us about his lovely wife. But they produced 3 lovely daughters. So he was one man in a house with 4 women. How was that?
Well, I enjoyed it. Clara had to worry about them wearing her stockings and wearing her clothes. And I enjoyed the fussing and the fuming and the arranging, and just tried to keep them well fed and well taken care of. It wasn't a big, I loved them and we got along.
That's great. Now, Dr. Rock has held very many prominent positions in the church. He's been a pastor, He's been an administrator. He's been a president at Oakwood University. He's been a vice president in the General Conference. He's had multiple positions that a lot of people, just think about holding. A lot of responsibility has been on his shoulders. And he's always carried it so humbly and so well and with such class and distinction. But I'm wondering what job he liked the most.
That's like asking, which child do you like the most? You like each one for different purposes. I think, though, that pastoring, which is where we started, and where we ended up after we retired, following 30 years of administration at Oakwood and the General Conference. I think if I had to put it in terms of the couple that we were, my wife and I, our most basic joys, and that's hard to say because I loved what I was doing at Oakwood. I loved the GC thing and the union, all that. But there's something about, I'll tell you why. I think this will illustrate it. The pastor gets closer to the people than anybody else. Even under school, the administrators have deans and vice presidents, and you've got a lot of buffers and a lot of, if not a buffer, at least a lot of people who intercept and do things for you. But the pastor has to be very direct. And my most precious memory of my 60-plus years of service occurred when I was pastoring, leaving the pastorate in Miami, Florida, back in the early 60s. And they had a farewell for us. And the lady whose mother had died, but who I had visited a number of times, and I prayed with her and so forth, said at the meeting, where we were leaving the next couple of days, she said, "You know, Pastor, when my mother died, I was cut wide open. And you came and prayed, and when the Lord healed me, He sewed you up inside."
Wow. Amen.
You can't get any more dear and touching than that. So all the scholarships I helped to give to students and all the recruitments in Africa and other places, a lot of joy and a lot of satisfaction. But that kind of tells you why the pastorate is probably fundamental to everything else.
Amen.
Yes, and he did the pastorate well, he did the presidency at Oakwood well. We were at Oakwood when he was the president. He also did the General Conference well. He also writes books very well. He's written a lot of books. His most recent book is called Protest and Progress. And it's a very interesting book. Doc, tell us your secret, just really quickly, your secret, because we've got researchers here, and we've got academicians, and we have students. What's the secret to being a prolific writer?
I think, I can't really answer that with any certainty, except to say two things. Number one, I've always gotten stuck on a certain scripture. Some people read the Bible through from Genesis to Revelation, so many chapters every day, and that's great, but I can't, I always get stuck. I get on a scripture and it grabs me, and it holds me for a week. Sometimes it holds me for a month. Sometimes it holds me for 6 months, just a chapter, and I keep going deeper and deeper and getting more, and I begin to write and make notes, and then turns into a page here and a page here and a page there. Then I start balancing it with some other things I've written and put it all together, and there's a book.
All right, speaking of secrets, Doc. Dr. Rock, I know you're going to think that I'm not telling the truth on the Sabbath day, but Dr. Rock is 88 years old. I would like him to tell us the secret to how he looks so young, how he stays so active, and how he's maintained his commitment to the Lord over all of these years.
Well, thank you, Susan. I always knew you were a nice person.